Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video thumbs up. The polished desk covered with patient files and a half-eaten piece of Il Giardino pizza was covered in lengthy shadows when the afternoon sun peeked through the shutters of Taylor Hayes' hospital office. The way Deacon Sharp's rough hands had felt on her flesh, the forbidden whispers in his restaurant's back room, and the guilt that knotted in her gut even as need drew her closer were all replayed in Taylor's head as she reclined in her chair. She was aware that it was incorrect. Sheila Carter, the lady who had harassed Deacon's family for years, was her spouse. But even the most skilled psychiatrist may be blinded by love, or whatever this crazy pull was. Her thoughts were interrupted by a harsh knock. The door opened before Taylor could reply, and Sheila was standing there, her eyes blazing with rage that thickened the room. Sheila's posture was stiff like a coiled serpent about to attack, and her red hair seemed to burn in the light. Under the guise of asking for counsel, she had claimed that her marriage to Deacon was failing and that Taylor, as a friend and professional, could help. However, the facade fell apart as soon as the door clicked shut. "You," Sheila growled in a low, poisonous voice. "You think I don't know? All those late-night sessions, the way Deacon looks at you now instead of me. You've been sneaking around with my husband, Taylor." My husband. Taylor's heart was pounding in her chest. She got up carefully, attempting to maintain her composure, like she did with her patients. "Sheila, let's talk about this rationally. Whatever you think is happening." Sheila's piercing, insane laugh reverberated off the walls. "Rationally?" she asked. She moved in closer, her eyes falling on the pizza cutter that was sitting next to the box on Taylor's desk. She grabbed it and slammed it down on the wooden board with such force that papers flew. The sword shone ominously. With wide eyes, Taylor retreated against the wall and said, "You betrayed me. You, who I've tried to trust, who pretended to care about my redemption. All while stealing Deacon away." "Sheila, put that down. This isn't you anymore. You've changed, remember? For Deacon, for yourself." However, Sheila's expression became feral. She was no longer the same person who had shot her way through Los Angeles or pretended to be dead. No, this was more profound. A raw, possessive anger brought on by years of rejection and the new pain of adultery. "Changed? You made me believe I could have a real life, and then you ruined it. If I can't have Deacon, neither can you." Sheila's pizza cutter thread vanished at that precise moment. She had brought a little vial from her days of plotting, concealed in her purse, which contained a corrosive material that was considerably more lethal than a basic blade, and that she had obtained through dark connections. Strong enough to consume flesh and leave scars that no surgeon could completely remove. Betrayal had sped up the confrontation she had planned. Sheila was quicker than Taylor when she grabbed for the phone on her desk. She let out a shriek of sheer agony and threw the vial's contents straight at Taylor's face. The liquid sizzled as it splattered across her forehead, one eye, and cheek. Instantaneous and unbearable, the pain burned through skin and nerve endings like hellfire. As she grabbed at her face and stumbled backward against a cabinet, Taylor let out a primal scream that tore from her throat. The room was filled with the foul stench of an actual nightmare as the acid resumed its ruthless work, boiling and destroying tissue. "Feel that?" Sheila spat, her hands trembling as the truth of what she'd done started to set in. "That's what betrayal feels like. Permanent. Just like the mark you'll carry forever." Shortly after, staff members were attracted in by the screaming, and security alarms went off. Sheila hesitated for a moment before running away and vanishing into the confusion of the hospital hallways. With one eye blurry and a massive searing, burning pain on the left side of her face, Taylor fell to the ground. The damage was already done when the doctors surrounded her and flushed the area with water and neutralizing agents. As they took her into emergency treatment, they muttered in low voices that she would be permanently disfigured. A continuous reminder of Sheila's retaliation. The acid had eaten deep, leaving behind puckered, scarred flesh that would never look the same. In Los Angeles, word got out like wildfire. Deacon Sharp's phone rang while he was getting ready for the dinner rush at Il Giardino. With a distressed voice, it was Steffi Forrester. Deacon, it's Mom. Sheila, she attacked her. With acid. Taylor's in the hospital. It's bad. Deacon's world was skewed. The clang of his dropped knife reverberated throughout the kitchen. What? No, that can't be. His thoughts quickly returned to the disagreements with Sheila, the increasing distance, and the private evenings he spent with Taylor, which had begun as consolation and developed into something he couldn't deny. He had once loved Sheila in that wild, redemptive way, but Taylor stood for passion and stability without the ever-present threat of danger. Or so he had believed. Deacon's hands were so firmly gripping the steering wheel that his knuckles turned white as he hurried to the hospital. Even before he got there, tears welled up in his eyes. The family was already there when he stormed into the waiting area. Ridge Forrester was pacing like a lion in a cage, Brooke Logan was providing quiet support, and Steffi and Finn were huddled together with anxious looks. The tiny child, Hayes, sat silently, feeling the stress, but not quite getting it. With a cracked voice, Deacon questioned, "How is she?" The physician appeared, his expression solemn. "The acid caused severe chemical burns. We've stabilized her, but the damage to her face and left eye is extensive. Scarring will be permanent. She may lose partial vision in that eye. Reconstructive surgery can help, but she'll be disfigured. It's a long road." Deacon collapsed in a chair, burying his face in his palms. Even he was taken aback by the deep, heaving sobs that shook his body. He shed tears for Taylor, the colorful, stunning woman whose smile had brightened his worst moments. He sobbed for his part in this catastrophe and for chasing her despite Sheila's turbulent past. "This is my fault," he sobbed and whispered. With his own eyes clouded, Ridge put a hand on his shoulder and said, "I should have ended it with Sheila cleanly. I should have protected her." Deacon was given access to the recovery room a few hours later. We all knew Sheila was a ticking time bomb. But Taylor, she didn't deserve this. With bandages covering the left half of her face and 4 lines extending from her arms, Taylor was pushed up in bed. As he got closer, her right eye, which was unharmed, fluttered open. She appeared frail, a shadow of the self-assured psychiatrist who had formerly given so many people advice. "Deacon," she said, her voice raspy from drugs and shouting. He knelt next to the bed and took her hand tenderly. His cheeks were wet with new tears. "Taylor, I'm so sorry. God, I'm so sorry. I never thought she'd go this far. If I had known." "It's not just you," she uttered feebly, her words marked by anguish. Deacon's shoulders trembled as he pushed his forehead to her hand. "I chose this too. The affair, it was reckless. But the pain, Deacon, it burns. Even now. I can feel my skin tightening, pulling. They say I'll never look the same. You're still you. Beautiful, strong, the woman who saw good in me when no one else did. We'll get through this. Surgery, therapy, whatever it takes. I'll be here, every step." But as he talked, doubt began to creep in. He had shed tears not only for her wounds but also for the life they may have had, which was now as severely damaged as her face. Sheila's attack had destroyed more than just tissue. It had split families, rekindled long-standing animosities, and made everyone face the monster in their midst once more. With her hands still shaking after the act, Sheila had escaped to a rundown motel on the outskirts of town. The lady who had once been a nurse, a mother, and a lover was now reduced to this, a perpetrator of unspeakable horror, as she gazed at her reflection in the fractured mirror. She felt both regret and justification. Her joy had been taken by Taylor. Deacon had opted for treachery over loyalty. But she was plagued by the picture of Taylor's yelling face. Was this atonement? No. This was the resurgence of the former Sheila, the one who would lash out when trapped. The story was rapidly taken up by news sources. Forrester Creations was abuzz with rumors. Prominent psychiatrist victim of acid attack, suspect at large. With disappointed eyes, Hope Logan confronted her father at the restaurant. Deacon could only hang his head, the weight of his decisions bearing down on him. "Dad, how could you get involved with Taylor while married to Sheila? You knew what she was capable of." Days became a whirl of hospital visits and police interviews. "I thought I could handle it," I thought love could fix everything. But look at what I've caused. Taylor was left weary and in constant suffering after undergoing the first of numerous surgeries, including skin transplants and laser treatments. Raised, glossy scars that tugged at her facial emotions, causing crooked smiles and self-conscious discussions, were a lasting effect of the damage. At first, she shied away from mirrors, but she soon made herself look. One morning, she informed her mirror, "This is my new face," as tears mixed with the ointment that had been administered to the wounds. Deacon remained by her side, his tears turning into silent resolve. "Sheila took my old one, but she can't take my spirit." Amid the turmoil, he filed for divorce and moved out of the apartment he shared with Sheila. He told Taylor, "I failed you both," at a late-night vigil. The Forrester family came together despite simmering tensions, saying, "But I won't fail you now. We'll rebuild, together." Steffi publicly blamed Deacon. Ever the defender, Ridge organized security and legal measures to find Sheila, saying, "You brought that psycho back into our lives." Mom paid the price. Because of her past interactions with both women, Brooke showed genuine empathy by lending a shoulder. Sheila, meanwhile, went underground, but not before using a burner phone to send Deacon a mysterious message that chilled him and strengthened his determination to see justice done. "You chose wrong. Now live with the consequences." As the weeks went by, Taylor's recuperation proved to be an example of perseverance. She went back to work part-time, offering patients counseling with a fresh perspective derived from her own experience. Some people were encouraged by her strength despite the stares and rumors caused by her scars. Deacon was always there, and instead of stolen passion, their bond became stronger through shared suffering. On the day she took off the final bandages, he sobbed once again as he gently traced the lines on her cheeks. He said, "You're still the most beautiful woman I've ever known," in a passionate tone, inside and out. However, the assault caused repercussions. By asking naive questions about Grandma's boo-boo, Hayes forced adults to use juvenile language to describe evil. Hope was cautioned by Liam Spencer about the perils of becoming entangled in the Carter Sharp circle. Even in Forrester's fashion industry, designs changed slightly, possibly in response to Taylor's experience, with a more focus on inner beauty campaigns. A ghost lurking on the periphery of their lives, Sheila's whereabouts remained a mystery. There were rumors that she had hidden or plotted her escape to another state. Deacon's tears were a secret ritual when he was by himself, lamenting the lady he had loved and the one he had wounded. He wore the guilt like a second skin. Taylor and Deacon sat together on the hospital balcony with a view of the city during the calm times. She whispered, "Acid changes everything," as the wind tugged at her hair, causing it to fall and partially conceal her scars. Deacon nodded and drew her in. "But it doesn't define us. We choose how to move forward." His tears had turned into a steadfast dedication, a pledge made with tears and fire. Bonds were put to the test and, for some, strengthened in the wake of the bold and the beautiful complex web of love, treachery, and retaliation, which had taken another victim. Taylor's face was permanently disfigured by Sheila's fury, a tale of survival. Deacon's tears were a catharsis for the turmoil he had contributed to, and his heart was heavy with regret. More operations, confrontations, and possibly even atonement for the most unlikely people were in store for the next days. For now, though, two damaged people were holding each other in that hospital room, whispering vows against the backdrop of a city that never slept, where danger and love performed an unending, merciless ballet. Nobody in Los Angeles could have imagined the chaos that broke out, shattering lives and permanently altering hearts. What started off as just another heated altercation swiftly turned into a terrifying incident that everyone in attendance will never forget. Sheila made a judgment that went beyond all bounds because she was driven to the brink and obsessed by her hazardous obsession. She delivered a vicious acid attack in an instant, causing Taylor to scream in anguish and her world to fall apart as the pain took hold. People in the vicinity were stunned and unable to comprehend the extreme brutality of what had just transpired. As Taylor was hurried away, her condition serious and her future uncertain, there was a sense of panic, terror, and incredulity in the air. Her injuries were severe and would change her life forever, as doctors subsequently confirmed. Those who loved her found it difficult to accept the irrevocable harm, thus the emotional toll was equally severe. Deacon, who had always struggled with his complex feelings for Sheila, was utterly devastated by what he saw. He sobbed as he realized that the woman he had once sought to believe in had unleashed unspeakable devastation, overcome with anguish and shame. His sobs, which combined regret and rage into an uncontrollable maelstrom of emotions, mirrored the suffering felt by everyone associated with Taylor. Sheila, meanwhile, expressed little regret for her activities, which rocked every relationship she had ever been involved in. Her decisions started to have repercussions, but it's still unclear if justice will actually find her. The repercussions are only getting started, and they have the potential to drastically alter everyone's life. Questions about how Taylor can reconstruct her life and whether people around her can give her strength again persist as she faces a difficult and drawn-out journey ahead. Now, Deacon has to face his part in letting Sheila remain in their lives for as long as she did. And Sheila might have just made sure that there is no way out of this. The most important question, though, is whether Sheila has finally gone too far or if this is only the start of something even more horrifying that nobody anticipates.